Thanks for watching. Go ahead and click the subscribe button and the bell icon so you get notified of each new video as it comes out.
Hey everybody, I'm JJ Johnson. You're watching Reality Survival. So today we're going to talk about some low budget comm items and kind of what I do as far as my communications and all that kind of stuff. But before we get into that, I want to give you a couple of thoughts on some ways you can get discounts for a couple of cool products. The first one is EMP Shield. You guys may have seen some of the videos that we've done on this in the past. We had a video where we talked to the owner of it and we described in pretty great detail what these things will do and what they will not do and how they can help preppers. If you use the link that I have in the description below or the coupon code Reality Survival, it will save you $50 on these. Basically, what these things can do is they can save the electronics that are plugged into the wires in your home. So if there was an EMP or a coronal mass ejection or something along those lines, you install this onto the power system on your house, and it will essentially shunt all of that induced electricity to the ground in, like, I don't know what it was, a couple billionths of a second or something along those lines. And what that does is it keeps your electronics from getting fried in your house. So the benefit to you is that you can take your generator and you can plug it into your transfer box and you can still use all the stuff in your house even after the EMP hits. Cool thing about these is they also have them for vehicles. I've also done a video on that showing you how easy it is to install, and if an EMP hits, your car will still run after the fact. And I don't know enough about electronics to say yes, this can work, or no, this cannot work. But what I do is I look at the third-party testing that they've done. They have been certified by Underwriter Laboratories, if I'm not mistaken, as well as Keystone Labs. And I don't believe that both of those companies or both those services, credentialing services, would risk their reputation if these products didn't do what they said they were going to do. So for about $300, I think it is, you know, that's a pretty good, if you're worried about EMPs or coronal mass ejections and all that kind of stuff, it's a pretty good peace of mind to be able to have. Okay, second thing that I wanted to talk about here real quick is ButcherBox. I've started getting ButcherBox. I've had a couple of boxes of it, and I think it's a pretty awesome way to stock your freezer and or your fridge, whatever, with really high quality meats. ButcherBox is very particular about how they advertise what their meats are and what they aren't, but basically in the bottom line terms that I can relay them to you, it is some of the highest quality meat out there. It's really good stuff. It's grown locally and sustainable, you know, sustainable kinds of things. And you know, with the beef, I know it's grass fed and grass finished. And it tastes good, dude. I had the last box I got was it was a beef and pork combo box, and it had half bone-in pork butt, a strip steak, two 10-ounce strip steaks, 2 1-pound things of ground beef, some pork chops, and some pork sirloin roasts. And we've eaten the pork sirloin roast and the pork chops since then, and the pork chops were the best pork chops I've ever tasted, bar none, hands down. We've also had a lot of the ground beef and all that kind of stuff, and you know, in tacos and different things like that. It's just good tasting stuff. And it's pretty cheap. When you break it down, I think the cost of the boxes is somewhere around $129 for the month. And it's like, I'm talking off the top of my head, so don't hold me to this, but it's 8 to 10 pounds of meat, and you break that down per serving, it's like $5 per serving, $5.35 per serving, something like that. But if you use the link down below, I am an affiliate with them, and they will give you $20 off, plus they'll give you the special that they're doing for that month for free. So it saves you guys some money. So anyway, with that, let's go ahead and get started with the discussion on comms. Today we are going to talk about some low budget options for setting up communications for preppers. And today we're mostly going to focus on handheld stuff for the most part. And I'll just show you what I got, and I'll kind of explain the reasons why I got these and all that kind of stuff. This might end up being a little bit longer of a video than normal, because I don't know that I can explain all this stuff, really quickly. And also, I'm not a comm guy. I'm not a comm expert or anything like that. I've used radios quite a lot throughout my military career and all that kind of stuff. But just keep that in mind. I'm not trying to tell you that I'm an expert on all this stuff, but I do have some training in it. With just like pretty much everything else in all my prepping plans, I try to use PACE, the PACE acronym, as a guide for kind of how I go about laying things out. And that just helps to ensure some redundancy. If you're not aware, the PACE acronym stands for primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency. And so I'll kind of go through, I'll use that acronym to kind of go through some of this stuff here. Probably the most prolific radios, handheld radios that are out there right now are those little bubble pack GMRS and FRS radios. And it is for that reason that I use those as my primary radio. And the reason that I do that is because, where I live, probably all of my neighbors have some of those radios. And so if something were to happen, a big event or something like that, I can get together with my neighbors. We can pick a channel and we can all, be able to communicate if there's a problem or if somebody needs help or something along those lines pretty easily. And I don't have to have all the radios, here. I do have quite a few of them, and I could probably, pass out, 8 or 10 or something along those lines. But a lot of people already have those. And so for me, that's a good thing. So high degree of availability, super common. Let me see here. I just got some notes that I'm looking at. Oh, and the other thing is that in the recent years, the FCC has loosened some of the requirements on these, and now they are available up to 50 watts for private use in some of the GMRS frequencies. Technically, you are required to get a license. You are supposed to go to the FCC, and I want to say it's less than $100, and it now lasts like 10 years. So it's pretty darn easy to do. You only got to get one license, and that covers your whole family. So that's a good thing, and I have my license. Let's see, antennas for some of the bigger radios, not the handhelds, but some of the bigger ones, which I'll probably show you in either later in this video or in another video, depending on how long this goes. But they can be mounted up to 20 feet higher than the structure they're mounted to. So that can really help you increase your distance and transmission and all that kind of stuff. The other reason is that there are a lot of GMRS repeaters all around the United States. And if I can find it, I'll throw in a map here where you can see what I'm talking about. That'll allow you to get further distance, if you can hit a repeater and you have a radio that is capable of hitting a repeater. It's only certain channels that'll hit repeaters. But Midland has come out with a lot of really great radios, some 40 watts, the Midland MXT 400. You can use those for vehicles or for a base station. I've got one that I'm going to put in my vehicle. I've got another one in the Hardened Power Systems Deep Recon, and I'll show you that a little later. So there's a lot of options when it comes to that. Now, here's the downsides to those. Downsides is that you're going to have more traffic. You're going to have more traffic, more people listening, so you need to be cognizant of OPSEC requirements and all that kind of stuff. But when you're just talking about basic communication with your neighbors and stuff like that, I think this is probably going to be fine. Now, what I went with on some of my most recent purchases, like I said, I've got several of those, those bubble pack ones and stuff like that. But I also went with these BTEC. Let's see here. They're the GMRS V1, and that is what they look like. And the reason that I went with these is that they have an external antenna, and so I can get the whip antennas for them, which I have some in this other box here for the MERS radios I've got, and that'll allow you to get a little better distance out of them. These are also FCC compliant. Now, I know a lot of guys are going to say, I'd just rather have the Baofeng UV5Rs. And I have some of those, and we'll talk about those later. But the FCC has started to crack down on some of those. And so these are perfectly legal to use. And I want to say that they're 5 watts each. But I saw something the other day that made me second guess that and think that it might be 2 watts each. Either way, I'm not 100% sure. The little handhelds that you get in the stores are generally speaking a 0.5 watt. So these are considerably more powerful, either way you look at it. Work pretty good. The sound is pretty good out of them. You know, you're not, when you're limiting yourself to a handheld and a small antenna, even with the whip antennas, you're generally only going to get 1 mile or 2 in fairly open terrain, you know, and so you got to understand what these things are. But they're pretty good, and they'll give you capability to speak and listen to your neighbors and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, in all reality, being able to communicate with your neighbors and having a group of like-minded neighbors is probably going to be the most important kind of communication that you have, because it's the people around you that you know and that you've formed relationships with that are going to be able to come to your assistance if need be. These radios also come with mic kits and stuff like that, you know, where you can hook them onto your equipment and stuff. I haven't done too much of that. However, I have tested it with my helmet, my little tactical helmet, and the earmuffs that I have with it, and it will plug into those so that I can hear it if I do have, you know, all my gear on and all that kind of stuff. Got a couple of regular chargers and stuff like that as well. I'll put some links to these things down in the description below. The way that I've been storing mine is just in a little plastic ammo can right now. I've got some of the other radios in a Faraday cage and stuff like that up in the barn as well. Okay, so that's kind of my primary thing. The alternate is our MERS radios, and let's see if I remember correctly. GMRS, I think, stands for General Mobile Radio Service, so it's pretty much available for use for whoever. MERS is, what is it? Multi-user radio service or something like that. I can't remember. I don't think it's Marine. I used to think it was Marine, but I can't remember. Anyway, I'll try to throw that down here. And the reason I use MERS, they are limited to 2 watts, but they are good for tactical comms, I think, at least a little better than GMRS. And I say that for the simple use that not as many people use the MERS frequency. So you don't have as many people on it. And you're limited to 2 watts, and you also have a low power range on these radios if you want. So if somebody is trying to direction find you, they're going to have a harder time because you're not transmitting out with as much power, so that means it's more difficult to find. They got to be pretty much right on top of you to get that signal, unless they have some really sophisticated equipment. But so that's kind of the basic thing there. And I just wanted to, I wanted to have a different set of frequencies for my personal tactical comms around my house. You know, like if I'll have my group of people that show up here and all that kind of stuff, and I wanted to be able to use a separate frequency altogether, that's not even available on GMRS radios that are so common, so that I can have a little bit more privacy. Now, please understand that when you talk about radios and privacy, that really doesn't technically exist, because if you think that you have secure radio communications, you're probably wrong. Okay, can't go too much more into that. But these radios are basically the exact same thing as the GMRS ones. Here's a look at the manual, and it is very, very similar setup. looks basically identical. And so you'll also see that I have the mics. These are the bigger mics that you can kind of mount, you know, on a LBV or a shoulder or something along those lines. You've got the belt clip. You can throw it on your belt or whatever. And I did label them with the MERS because they look basically identical to the GMRS ones. So just wanted to be able to tell that, you know, the difference there. And as you can see, also has the detachable antenna, and these are the whip antennas from Nagoya, which are a little bit better performing than the other ones. So got a whole stack of these here as well, with the chargers and all that kind of stuff. And again, I'm just putting it in a plastic box, and I've got it labeled with MERS. So that's that. Okay. Now the next one, I don't have right down here with me because, again, some of these are up in the Faraday cage, and I also have one mounted in my truck. But my Contingency, so I've got primary as GMRS, I've got MERS as my tactical comms and my alternate, and then I've got Contingency being citizen band walkie-talkies, CB radios. And you saw I have the video out on that showing the one that I've got mounted in my truck. I also have multiple handheld units as well. So that's another fallback. That's also good to monitor and just kind of gather intelligence and all that kind of stuff as well. Probably wouldn't be using those for transmitting unless, you know, unless we needed to. You can get pretty good distances out of CBs. If you've got everything set up right, you can set up base stations in your home. You can get really pretty crazy with it. I haven't gone that far yet. I've just got the vehicle and then some handheld units. But and especially when you're using the single sideband option, you can get, you know, hundreds and hundreds of miles range on those things. They're only 4-watt radios. They're limited to 4 watts, but the single sideband is up to 12. And, you know, average setup on the vehicle, I'd say you're going to get 5 to 7 miles. You might even get 10 or 12, something like that. Atmospheric conditions are right, you might get further, but generally speaking, it's going to be somewhere in that range. So that's that. And then for the last one, this is my emergencies radios, and I even have it labeled emergency use only on the thing. Now the reason that I have it labeled that way is because these are the Baofeng UV5Rs. I've also got some of the 8-watt ones too. Just your basic little handheld radio. You do need some software called Chirp software to program these things. And I think I have not programmed mine yet. I think that's the software that it comes with in the little programming cable and all that. Again, these radios do come with earpieces and all that jazz, as well as the chargers and also the longer Nagoya. I think these are Nagoya. No, they're not. I take that back. They are TIO radio, but it's the NA771 antenna, and it's going to give them a little bit better distance and all that kind of interception and all that kind of jazz too. We've also got the mic setups, you know, with these and all that kind of jazz too, as well as some extra batteries and stuff. Now, there's some problems with these radios now. The FCC started cracking down on them because they can transmit, you know, you're supposed to have a ham license to use it, and I'm not exactly 100% sure on all this. You can check the FCC website to get the exact details on it. There's also several comm-related channels that have talked about this, but essentially the radios can transmit on channels that they're not supposed to. They can be programmed to do that, and so my understanding is that's basically what the FCC has decided that they don't want to allow. So However, my understanding is that they could still be used in an emergency situation. So if there was an SHTF kind of event, if you've already owned these radios and all that kind of stuff, then it shouldn't be a problem with using them in an emergency. But I just kind of wanted to go the safe route, have the GMRS radios that are programmed to only those channels, same way with the MERS, and then obviously the CBs as well. So, you know, that's pretty much it. As far as monitoring goes, and like I said, I'll have links to these down in the description below. I'll have some Amazon links where you can take a look at them if we can still find them. I'm not sure if they still sell the UV5Rs on Amazon. I think they do, but we'll have to check it. AM/FM radio obviously is important to monitor. And when I'm talking about monitoring, I'm talking about just listening for intelligence collection. If there was a situation where something had gone really wrong, then you're going to want to try to gather as much information as you can. And so AM/FM radio is going to be a good one to listen to. Police scanners, both analog and digital. And I think I picked up a digital one finally. I don't remember where it's at. I got it for like $25 off of Facebook Marketplace. So that's another thing that you can monitor. Also, you've got shortwave international stations and CONUS stations if they're broadcasting. And then, you know, you could also listen to your ham radios and kind of scan those, you know, set those to scan and try to pick up information there. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. As far as old school comms, we'll just talk about that real quick, and then I'll show you the deep recon. Old school comms, obviously you've got whistles, signal mirrors, you know, doing by daytime for the signal mirror. You can use horns, vehicle horns, air horns, you know, those little sports horns that you can honk at, you know, football games and stuff. You've got hand and arm signals. I've done a video on that where I think we showed like 80 different hand and arm signals. You could also yell, and you can send runners with notes. You know, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. But basically, the reason I bring those up is because it's not like if you don't have radios, if you haven't got those, that you can't still communicate with folks and set systems up in place that, you know, that would still work. And so it might be a good idea for you to think about what you're going to do if your radios fail, because it has been my experience in you know, 20 plus years of military service that radios fail frequently. And so you really kind of do want to think about alternatives to them if you can, at least on your local area and your, you know, around your homestead, around your house, in your neighborhood, whatever the case may be. What are you going to do, you know? So let me grab this deep recon real quick. All right, so it's in a big ammo can, and Hardened Power Systems is the one that the company makes these, and it's super cool. It's essentially a self-contained system that will hold the Midland MXT, what is it, the MXT 400, I think they call it. Yeah, and so that's what radio I have in here right now. It has a battery system in it. It has a fan in it. It's got an external speaker. You can hook your mic up to it and everything like that. It's just a really neat system, and your external antenna and all that. I'm going to pull it out here so you can see it. So it has the ability to where you can pull it out, and it's got the battery back under here. You can charge that with AC or DC, if I remember correctly. You got auxiliary power that you can run off of it. It's got your amp meter and your voltmeter on the front of it. It's got all that jazz. It'll allow you to hook your microphone and your external antenna and all that stuff up as well. So I'd like to do a more full review on this system. I've been meaning to for a long time, actually, and I just haven't gotten gotten that together. I need to do that. So I still plan on doing that here one of these days. Okay. Boom. Pull the lid off. Actually, it fell off. But all right. So that's just a closer look at that. Really cool option for the base station because, you know, even if the power goes out, it's battery chargeable. You can also plug it with, or charge it with solar panels too. You just have to make sure that you've got the Anderson power plugs, you know, basically coming in to do the charging. Let's see what else on here. It's the Recon G1 from Hardened Power Systems, and I don't see too much else right here off the front of it, but I think this is a cool option because you can also take it mobile if you need to. You can use it as your base station in your house and just run your antenna up, you know, to the top of your house. You could do that in a bug out camp or something like that too, or a bug out location. I want to say that the retail price on these was somewhere in the neighborhood of, well, I'm not sure. Check out Hardened Power Systems. I'll put a link in the below because it's been a while since I got it, but it was several $100s. But I think that it's a pretty good option for adding to your capabilities on your radio and all that kind of stuff. So, okay, that is pretty much that. And thank you for watching. As I noted at the beginning of the video, I have started to upload all my YouTube videos. They're doing a channel pull where their Gunstreamer is pulling all my videos from YouTube and bringing them over to Gunstreamer. If you guys haven't checked out gunstreamer.com, I suggest that you do that. It's a pretty cool site. It's all pro Second Amendment. It's all about guns. It's all about, you know, well, Gunstreamer, that's what it's called. And so obviously they're Second Amendment supportive. They also give you guys a way to contribute to certain, you know, producers if you want. And I think 10% of the money that you contribute goes towards supporting the platform also. They also have the apps for Android and iOS. So I think it would be great if you guys would go check that out. Check out Gunstreamer and subscribe, you know, to my channel over there once it gets uploaded. It's literally, they're doing it like right now. And then everybody else is on there too, man. There's lots of folks over there. You know, there's just a ton of different folks that have started importing to it. I think that I'm also going to start embedding all of my videos into my blog posts, and I'm trying to transition away from YouTube as much as possible. I'm just tired of their nonsense, and so I think I finally found a platform that's going to work pretty good. So I hope to see you guys over there. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. As always, I definitely appreciate it when you click the thumbs up button, when you share it on Facebook and Twitter, even though I don't really like those companies either. And yeah, we'll see you on another video here shortly.